Okay, so this is election night, and
Certainly
you
is.
guys are performing in Brooklyn,
Yep.
which is really cool. And actually, so the U.S. young people want to know what are your thoughts on the election. And so the first question that I'm going to ask you is, what are your thoughts on the past 8 years with Obama? Are you satisfied? Are you unsatisfied? Any input on that?
I think in general, the past 8 years have been an incredible time of transition in our country. We had so much to recover from economically and socially as well from the Bush administration, and where we find ourselves in terms of issues like gay marriage, conversations like Black Lives Matter, conversations about rape culture, conversations that weren't had, let alone legislation changes. And before Obama, he's not perfect. No president is. He's also been operating for the last 8 years with, for the last 6 years with a Republican Congress who's blocked most changes he's tried to make and things he's tried to do. But I think particularly given those circumstances, he's been an exceptional president and representative of our country globally.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to it. You kind of said everything I wanted to say, but I will agree that I think it was a real game changer for the world that this happened, that a black man got to be president. That is huge in America. So regardless of the things that he wasn't able to achieve, that he said he would achieve, I still think just as an ambassador for like change, he's just been absolutely incredible. It's really disappointing to see that he hasn't been able to fulfill everything he wanted, but I think, as Val said, that's majoritively down to the fact that he's had a house that hasn't been destroyed. So it's been, it's been bittersweet in a way.
I think we have many more things to be grateful for.
There's more
from the
sweet
last
than
8
bitter.
years than bitter about.
It's like dark chocolate with a bit of salt sprinkled on top. It's like it's good. It's still good. It's delicious.
And then, are you optimistic about the future for this country, and what would you most like to see for this country as far as change is concerned?
I'm very optimistic about this country moving forward. I think the people who are embracing this sort of scary authoritarian ideology that we see in this election, it's a very small percentage, and socially, young people, millennials, 18 to 35, they're an incredibly progressive generation. Socially, economically, they embrace ideas of democratic socialism. They embrace activism in a democracy. They embrace equality and rights for all citizens. It's not a particularly religious generation. So I think as they sort of take their power and grow older, and this country becomes more and more diverse, it's going to just move in a more progressive direction.
I also just adding on to that, I think it would be a very wrong choice to not be optimistic, because as soon as you fall into feeling jaded or pessimistic about the things that could happen, that's when voter turnout is really low and things don't
cynicism is very dangerous.
Exactly. And I think that it's not just about presidential elections, it's about every election, it's midterms, it's every election that happens. I think this election hopefully will really push particularly young people to concentrate or focus on every election that comes about, not just who's going to be president, because a president is powerless if he's got a house that doesn't want to support him. And I think the only way to move forward is by carrying on this revolution that is ours, and I do feel really optimistic about that. Yeah.
So this is a question specifically for you, but also for you if you have friends that are in Europe. So specifically for young people in Europe, what is their input on the election for the US?
So I've lived over here so long, so I haven't been over there, but I have many friends that live over there. I mean, they just think it's absolute madness. However, it's been an ironic year because it's come on the heels of Brexit, and Brexit was a situation where it felt like a lot of people sat back and were complacent about the fact that it's never going to happen, of course. And the rhetoric that was put out there by people like Farage and Johnson was so poisonous, and I think that was a real wake-up call. over in the UK, and I think that's so the way they're viewing the presidential election. I really don't want to speak for them because I'm not over there. I feel that most young people might feel a sense of like, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen over there as well? We don't campaign as long over there, so an 18, 19-month campaign is like, it's ridiculous. So that's what I gather, is that they just think it's like incredibly scary, but also bonkers that someone like him could be a presidential candidate. So I mean, that's the.
Do you think that the U.S. elections are actually a democratic way of electing a president?
I think we've talked about that. I mean, listen, I've only been over here for 2 elections, so I'm still learning about how in a weird way, the presidential election works, or every election works. And so the electoral college is something that it kind of blows my mind why it's there. Do I think it's democratic? I think in the best possible sense, or in the most optimistic way of looking at it, is like, sure, it's democratic. I think there's a lot of, but like any election or any political thing,
I think more so than the electoral college, the problem is issues like Citizens United, issues like corporations being able to sway campaigns so significantly, and the fact that our campaign season goes on so long that media is an integral part of it. That's not democratic. Issues that we're facing about certain parties trying to make voting more difficult for certain demographics in this country, closing polling places in specific areas and neighborhoods with specific demographics.
Yeah.
Those are the issues, and I don't think that's because the system is rigged. I think that's because people who've been elected are rigging the system, and they're undermining our democracy, which is also why, more so than ever, we have to be participants in our democracy, not just once every 4 years, or
just criticize. Like, it's easy to stand on the side where you come from a place of privilege, particularly, to just stand and criticize. And there's widespread anger at the government in every demographic, bipartisan. Like, there's discomfort and anger towards the way they've been treated. So it's I don't think the entire country thinks it's a completely democratic situation.
I would agree with everything you guys just said. And then I see that you voted. So
I hope so.
even though, I'm very thankful for that, as I cannot vote myself, so I'm very appreciative.
For the family,
You should just vote for me, the dog, the cat. Yeah.
Exactly. And so who do you think is going to win tonight? Because we already just saw that right now Trump is leading. It has been mostly, states in this.
Yeah, sure.
More red.
And we weren't, I don't think
States.
anyone was really assuming that was going to be different, because most of his support has come from that area. It's also the West Coast will not be called too much later, so I think it's also the media trying to dramatize a situation.
Yeah.
It was the same last election with Obama. I mean, at the beginning it was a little scary, and then all of a sudden, like, it was absolutely fine. I know that Clinton's going to be our next president. I just don't believe that people are that.
I have faith that people also, if you look at the last 2 elections, it hasn't been white men that's decided who the president is in a long time, and that's the base of his support. We have Latino groups coming out in record numbers already, early voting and voting today. Women overwhelmingly support Hillary. All the groups that actually choose the president are supporting her, and so I have faith in statistics, and I also have a certain amount of faith in the American people, that they won't allow fear or narratives that they've been told about Hillary as a candidate for a very long time, very deliberately. They won't allow that to cloud their better judgment. I refuse to be afraid tonight.
Good. I hope so also as well.
It's all going to be fine.
It's all going to be fine. And Also, you guys are still performing tonight,
Yeah.
so if you guys can tell us a little bit about this event that we're having here.
Well, essentially, it's we did this on primary night as well, or around the primaries. Listen, it's a very stressful time. It's a very stressful time. So I think that the way that we can help cushion that is creating an environment of celebration, music, comedy, poetry, camaraderie, exactly. Because last two elections I did spend at home, and it was like, even though I'm not a citizen, I live here and I'm part of this community, and so it does affect me. So we wanted to create a party environment where people can come, have a drink or 5, and watch the election results come in, or 12, and so like I'm singing a Frank Turner song that I think is very really positive. Val's gonna sing I think he's singing a Simon Garfunkel song later. It's like I just wanted to also, like, because we're an international theatre company as well, I think it's important to really put out there that for people like you as well, it's like, yeah, we're not citizens yet, so we can't put our voice in. However, we love being here. I love being here, and I think it's important that we show support as well for the direction that America's going in, because America is a country of immigrants, and it still is a country of immigrants, and it will continue to thrive as a country of immigrants. That's what I think.
I agree with all the things.
Yeah.
If you guys have any last, just to wrap this up, input to the young American people about politics and how to be able to evolve this country for the future.
The revolution must continue.
It doesn't exist one day every 4 years, and people who I think are so angry and feel disenfranchised because they feel like they're just left with this choice once every 4 years, or buying into a fallacy. You know, being a part of a democracy, they're asked to be participants every day, and they have local representatives, they have state representatives, so many more people than, hopefully President Rodham will be affecting their lives, and those are the people in the communities that they also need to be engaged with and to be a part of if they really want to see true change happen.
Because it doesn't just hinge on one person.
Right.
It really is a community.
And she can't do it by herself.
And she can't do it by herself.
Just like Obama couldn't.
She's going to come up against
more backlash.
Agreed. So it is down to us to continue the things that Bernie started as well, because Bernie also forced her to, take some of his, much more, I don't know, like his platforms were so inspiring for young people, particularly. It was really overwhelming to see, and I think that Hillary's adopted a bunch of those, which I think is really good.
2/3 of his platform.
But it is important that we do.
Had to.
She did have to.
And it was great because,
And we were Bernie supporters
Same.
originally.
Same.
And I'm an enthusiastic Hillary supporter now.
Absolutely,
I don't feel the need to qualify that decision or apologize for it, but because of the GOP's actions in the last 30, 40 years, the Democratic Party unfortunately has been dragged to the right in terms of policy, which is why we look at the establishment and it looks the way the Republican Party did 40 years ago, and then we have neoconservatism and neo-Nazis on the other side. But Bernie was exactly what we needed this year, because he created this huge infusion of progressivism into the Democratic Party. Again, it's now unabashedly progressive and liberal, and that's exciting, and that's also what was necessary for Hillary to have the support that she needs to win.
Even though we were not happy to not have him as a president, he's still a senator. Which means a lot as well.
He get a lot done now. But his message was important, and I think that's the thing that is carrying forward, and we need to continue to do that. We need to hold Hillary to the promises that she's making as well, and making sure that no group, no matter what your skin color is, what your sexuality is, whatever it is left behind after this. That's our responsibility.
Great. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. We're
Very
going to sing a song.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And now let's have a great time.
Let's party.
Let's do the red light.
Let's drink.